I went to uni and I became a club promoter. I started running nightclubs and it was very successful, and I guess had achieved success in the way that modern culture might tell you that you're supposed to. So being a club promoter, constantly being around lots of women and always having money and everybody knew who you were. And from my side, it was so vapid and hollow, and there was nothing there for me. There was nothing there that I wanted at the end of that really, really mattered. I thought, like, is this really all that life's got to offer me? There was a backyard, and I would open the door before I went to bed, and I'd do this every night. I used to do it every night for months and months and months, and I'd look up at the stars, and I remember thinking, I wish I could be anywhere else but here. And then I started the podcast Modern Wisdom like 4.5 years ago because I wanted to speak to people that might have the answers. Welcome. Welcome to Modern Wisdom.
Number 2.
You're waving around. What are you waving?
I don't know.
They say that true hell is when the person that you are meets the person you could have been.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that caffeine's kicking in.
It's Chris Williamson.
Worst is the smart people like Chris Williamson.
Friend Chris Williamson.
Chris Williamson.
You never see that dude say
Hi friends, my name is Chris. This is Modern Wisdom. Goggins, Peterson, Jocko, Huberman. You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt. How did I get here? Just how triggering are our phones when it comes to dopamine? Why do you think it is that it's so prevalent? What is it that you're taking an enjoyment from? What about the difference between using and
I mean, that's a really good question. It's a really good question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
This is a fascinating question.
That's a great question when I haven't been asked before.
Yeah, another great question.
Okay, great question.
You're a very good listener. You are one of the best listeners. You're really good at that. That is a rare sign of social intelligence. So I was looking forward to meeting you.
First, I need to tell you about
I'm going to look there, you're going to throw it, and I'm just going to catch it because I'm epic. Right.
What is wisdom?
A good definition of wisdom would be something like understanding the outcomes of your actions. Knowledge would simply be an understanding of the actions and what they mean. I really wondered what would happen if I treated podcasting like an athlete would. I'm so fucking interested about everything. It's just a quirk of whatever version of the simulation that we live in that I can call that a job. I mean, I've managed to make a career out of being the dumbest person in a conversation 640 times.
There's nothing that makes you more formidable than verbal competence and being able to articulate, be able to think.
Motivation is the same thing. If you do the thing when you're feeling unmotivated, that is motivation.
That's it.
90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 3, but by making 21 podcasts, you are in the top percentile of all podcasters ever in history. That's what hard feels like. Have you ever seen that Jack Butcher visualize value graph?
Yeah.
Where it's flat and flat and flat, and there's a little arrow that points to this is pointless, and it's just before the hockey stick begins.
Do you know the dark side that's driving you?
Absolutely. Yeah, chronically, of course. I think anybody that believes that they're driven by a positive reinforcement is confused. It was going to be called Mind Over Matter, or Crushing a Tuesday, the most normal average day of the week. And you're still supposed to crush on that. That I woke up in the middle of the night with a flash of inspiration. I woke up at 3 a.m. and I was like, Modern Wisdom, that's it. Checked, hadn't been registered, and just went to town with it straight away. Going from where I was as somebody that was hopelessly unconfident with sort of relatively low self-esteem in genuinely being himself and speaking that forward, the only way that that could have improved is by building a mountain in layers of paint. For anybody out there that is thinking, I'm trying to do this thing, I feel like I've got talent, I genuinely believe that my quality of content is ahead of the interest that it's getting. Like, just keep going. The more that I think about this, the more I feel like we might be totally fucked. Like, if men don't kill themselves, they're exiting education and society and family life at the highest rates ever. Women are frantically pursuing careers only to discover that they're unable to find a partner that they're attracted to and then jump on meds at 40 years old. And then the people who want kids can't find a partner that does as well. Birth rates declining, faith in the leaders and the news organizations non-existent. And everyone's just about
sufficiently sedated not to notice or care that it's going on.
That's a precise and accurate summary of how the West has declined and will collapse, yes.
Fuck.
So this mating crisis.
Explain that, because that's interesting. I've been hearing stuff about this. This is kind of fascinating to me.
Okay, so third rail again. There is a massive reduction in the amount of short-term sex that people are having, and also you have declining marriage rates and family rates, right? The number of men reporting no sex in the last year has tripled from 8% to 28% from 2008 to 2018. This is men between the ages of 18 and 30. 50% of men say that they are not looking for a committed relationship. That's down from 61% of men saying that they were. But the problem that you have is this ever-increasing cohort of high-performing women are now competing for an ever-decreasing cohort of ultra-high-performing men. The stats on Tinder suggest that the bottom 80% of men compete for the bottom 20% of women, and the top 80% of women compete for the top 20% of men. This harkens back to our ancestral roots, which would be that women want a man who has status and resources. Not a problem at all. Why should women try and settle or not get the best that they can? The issue that you have is that women have been outperforming men in both education and employment for quite a while now. So 2 women for every 1 man will complete a 4-year US college degree by 2030. Women on average between the ages of 21 and 29 earn £1,111 more than men do. So you can see a potential issue here.
Kind of 2 big swaths of both genders that neither of them are particularly happy with the situation. Both of them are single. This is the most interesting dynamic that I think there is at the moment when it comes to dating. It's got downstream implications economically. It's got downstream implications when you think about population growth, population decline, culture, crime. You know, you don't want this huge underclass of sexless men roaming the streets.
So how do we balance that out? So it's not putting brakes back on the women.
Correct. The first thing that this conversation needs to get out front, and it's the main thing that this conversation gets wrong. As soon as you say 2 women for every 1 man completing a 4-year US college degree, women on average earning £1,111 more than men do between the ages of 21 and 29. Oh, so what you're saying is that you want to actually drag women back? They've only just recently got educational employment and parity. No, I'm not saying that. That is absolutely not what you need to have happen. Men and women are supposed to raise each other up. You want to have a huge cohort of guys that you can find attractive, and guys want to find a huge cohort of women that find them attractive. This is a very difficult conversation that we need to have to warn people about the impact of not thinking ahead in their relationships. You have less time than you think. You need to be aware of that. Throughout most of school, for me, I was pretty isolated. Only child, pretty unpopular in school. And the main issue that I had was, I think it was being lonely.
Right.
And that was primarily what was causing me to be sad throughout school. So I do this interview for the BBC, and I mention in 2 paragraphs or something, but millions of people see this article. And I get back one day, and in my Instagram message requests is this message from a guy, and I kind of recognize his name, but not fully. So I open it up, and this guy says, "Hi, Chris, you might not remember me, but we went to school together. I bullied you." Okay, so how do you define bullying? What is it?
We define bullying as a deliberate, aggressive attempt against a weaker individual that causes harm.
I was an only child, and I didn't have very many friends, and I was bullied in school. And you can create an awful lot of suffering yourself off the back of that. If you'd looked for me on the playground at lunchtime, you would have found me in my history teacher, Mrs. Wilkinson's classroom, not doing detention, but eating lunch somewhere where I couldn't be bullied. I had found more connection in an empty classroom than a hostile schoolyard because I struggled to fit in. Spend lunchtimes in my classroom, and you can just chill out. You could use the computer, or you could just do whatever. And kids used to go past and go, "Wow, are you in detention? Why are you here? How come you're spending your lunchtimes in this history classroom?" And I didn't say, but I was like, "It's because I'm more comfortable in here than I am being outside." And I haven't really spoken about childhood bullying. It was about a childhood bully that had reached out to me, and while I'm in between sips trying to hold it together, Goggins asks,
So why don't you mention it?
I haven't got around to it yet. And I kind of flubbed this answer to do with, I haven't got around to it yet, maybe it detracts from me, and a blah, blah, blah. But I could have given him like just a 2-word answer, which was, I'm ashamed. On a small dose of mushrooms, a long while ago, I saw a version of me in the corner. And what I realized was that that boy was worthy of love and acceptance. And if I could see him struggling through loneliness at school and a lack of support from friends, a sense of solitude that like was pathological, like just straight up loneliness, right? I would have told him that I was proud of him for getting through the things that he's got through. I would have said, you're working hard. You're worthy of acceptance and love. You don't need to offer the world anything in order for it to love you back. You don't need to offer people gifts or VIP entries or insights from a podcast. It's hard to be someone that thinks about things deeply because there is a in-kind association of suffering that comes along with it. Like it's both a blessing and a curse to feel things so very deeply. But I think that the price is worth it. The more that you can lean into just committing to doing stuff, right? Far more people than realize it just need to commit to doing a thing. Just do a thing.
Yes.
That's it. Anything. It doesn't matter. Especially if you don't know what to do, because anything is better than no thing. Podcasting, curiosity, learning, skill development is that it's an endless game that you can actually enjoy the process of. Really want to go here?
Of course I want to go.
It's episode 200! Woo! 500,000 is insane. See you at 700k. See you at 800k. I appreciate all of you. 1 million next, which will be wild.